It was a party, and tornado comes through Arkansas, and all the power goes out, and that place is pitch black except.
Ready?
Ladies and gentlemen,
You're listening to the Ozark Mix Podcast. Here are your hosts, Jonathan Ravel and Russ Collins.
Today we're going to talk about branding and packaging and how to dial in your prices to give your customers what they really want.
Let's go.
So Russ, a lot of people want to know pricing. I feel like I'm charging too much. How do I get a good balance? What packages should I offer? How should those packages reflect equipment-wise? Like, what am I bringing to the actual gig?
Yeah.
How do you break all that down and make sense of it?
It's a good question, but before we get going, I will say that I've already put out a YouTube video about pricing, and so if people are subscribed to this podcast and like this video, they'll start getting that kind of content, and they could go find it.
Yeah.
So right there on our channel, Rev. So
I didn't
anyway,
even know that.
Shameless plug. Hit the freaking subscribe button. Okay. All right. It's a good question. Branding and pricing are what I think when I'm on calls with DJs, or if I go and kind of work on a workshop or seminar or anything like that. This is one of the first questions that's asked. And it's always a hot topic in Facebook. Never, never say, what should I price something to a group of DJs? Because it is like a vast sea of spaghetti thrown at a wall. But I would say, obviously you kind of want to look at three things. You want to look at where you live and what exactly type of experience are you providing the client. Number two, it doesn't really matter if you have packages, pricing, doing per hour, if you don't really know what type of client you're going after.
Yep.
It doesn't really matter. Because you're never going to feel like you're really hitting a stride. And number three is how easy is it for someone to do business with you, and how clear are you on what it is that they're actually getting?
Okay.
And so that was a long road for us. And the way that I approach this, Rev, is like for the DJ business that's just starting out. Obviously, you kind of go this like, I'm going to be there for 4 hours, and I'm going to charge $125 an hour.
Yeah.
Right. And so you end up it's $500.
Yeah. And that works great.
Yeah.
Until you get into this wedding world where you're there basically all day.
Yeah.
Or the couple might say, well, our wedding's going to be, 4 hours. Mm-hmm. And I always do weddings as a whole day event, just book that whole day off. Yeah. Have a set price for that whole day.
Right. Yeah. Because you're going to invest that amount of time just getting into it and doing what we do. You're going to spend a ton of time on music prep and like physically, we just got done with practicing MC skills with our team just now before we started recording. And we were practicing what we were going to be doing this weekend. And I mean, that kind of stuff, like those are things that you got to give your time to. And so you're right. Yeah. I would take
And me personally, I have a different pricing kind of strategy for everything other than weddings. Mm-hmm. I kind of do it by the hour still.
Yeah.
And I base it on, do you just need music or do you want sound and lighting? Mm-hmm. And that's my two categories for that.
Yeah.
And then when I do weddings, before I was with Ozark Mix, what I would do is, do you need me to play for ceremony and reception or just reception?
Yeah.
Just the reception would be a little bit cheaper than all that together. And so that would be like, I always did it in two categories.
Yeah.
A lot of people say you need three. I think we do like three.
We do three.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll break those down. So And I'll just set this up. Like if you're just getting started and you need a way to get into the game, make no mistake about it. You need to be fair with your pricing and you need to reflect that. But don't, what I encourage people to, that it's like, don't stay in that world very long. Like make yourself a long-term plan that this isn't just a cash grab for you. Like this is to treat this as if you would a business that you want to grow and you want to see do well. And the best businesses make it easy for their customers by giving them solutions to problems.
Yep.
And so the way that we position ourselves is that running ceremony audio is not something that you want to trust Aunt Karen to do.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? Because what ends up happening is you as the couple end up like wanting to pull your hair out and equipment could fail. So what we do is we present an option for them to have their ceremony audio run by us because we're going to be there. We have a totally separate system for that. And so we add that as a piece. So that's what I want to say to people is like, position yourself as you are the solution to a wedding day problem.
Yep.
And so that said, we have 3 packages. One of them is like a stripped down version of everything, Rev. So they still get ceremony, which is a lapel microphone for the efficient, our battery powered, we run eVerse. Now we used to run Maui 5 Goes, and then we pipe in music, we run the lapel. It's super simple, although it's the most stressful part of the day.
Oh, yeah. No doubt.
And we should charge $3,000 for ceremony,
Yeah.
to be honest. But
there should be like a bonus if you make it through the whole thing with no hiccups. It's like, here's the extra 500.
that's right. Or it's like a video game style where you like get the coins like
Yeah.
Mario. Beep, 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 beep.
Yeah.
You should definitely get 5-star reviews if you can make it through ceremonies. They freaking are so hard and stressful. But so we make that easy for people. And then the next part of that package is just we bring a stripped down version of the facade, and it's an easy lighting solution. It's just the 2 wash lights
Yep.
that move. And then of course our column arrays, because that's kind of our standard. So the look is good and nice, but it's a stripped down version. And that's it, right? That's all they get. Now, in the early days, I would try to convince people that they needed uplights. And a lot of people will do that as like an add-on and try to stack on some revenue. But instead, what we do is we have a middle package that we actually want everybody to get. Like this is the one we want people to have. And it comes with ceremony, of course. We add cocktail hour, which that could be easy. That could be complicated.
Yeah.
We take that on ourselves. It could be we pick the ceremony rig up and we move it to the cocktail area, or it could be that they're in 2 totally different places and we actually have to have a separate system. So we leave that up to our own discretion, but we add that into this second package that you get cocktail. And then we give up lights in that.
Yep.
And then we also will kind of up our game of dance floor style of lighting. And that is, we go pixel tubes, we go more up lights, and we go the same sort of, Chauvet wash effects. But in that one, we're going to have a DJ that's running sound switch.
Yeah.
So everything is much more customized and it just feels more upscale. And then they also get a customized booth look. So at that point, we're bringing a Pro X tower or the Humpter. It's not just the white facade anymore.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of this deal. And so there's that middle package. Now, the like selling psychology is that you'll show plain Jane. So what we do when we present this is the customer is seeing this on the Zoom call and they are watching that it's not plain Jane. It's actually okay. It's great. It's better than what my first setups were for sure. But it's just a simplified version. And for some people, that's great. They love that. But we show that, and then we compare it to what a photo looks like. So what I have is I have the dance, like I have the wedding venue with our oak tree set up, no lights around the walls. It looks good, but it's just not as wow. And then I've got this photo. You're actually in it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's that Fort Smith wedding that we did.
Yeah.
And we're just up lights everywhere, flowers, dance floors popping, and it just looks like $1 million.
Yeah.
And I say, now this middle one is $400 more. And to us, all we're bringing is extra up lights, and we would rather play on the custom booth anyway.
Yeah.
So it's like, this is a no-brainer. Like, we would love to be at that one.
Yeah.
And the clients are like, oh, wow. So I get cocktail hour and I get lights for an extra $400. And we're like, yeah, and it looks like this. It's awesome. And it's a no-brainer. They go to that package every time. Now, the way that we also kind of work that is we have a third package that is 3 times the amount of money. And it comes with a light up dance floor that we rent from one of our vendor friends. We throw in a photo booth, which is still a good deal. And then we do some extra like lighting things for that.
Yep.
So we compare all 3 of those. We're like, these are the 3. And ultimately we just make it easy for people to
What would you say, like
80%
of the time they pick that middle one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then also what DJs don't really understand sometimes is that, especially new, and I didn't until I started doing this. But then what ultimately happens is like, oh, well, we're getting married. Our ceremony is actually off-site. We don't need ceremony. So then that gives me the opportunity to kind of dial the middle package back a little bit, but still make more money than if I sold them just the reception only package.
Right.
So what that does is I'm like, oh, well, cool. That's cool. You'll actually save some money.
Yeah.
It's $200 less if we're not doing ceremony.
Yeah.
And at that point, they're like, oh, that's great. So you still end up upselling and moving them into the nicer package.
Yeah.
Which, to be honest with you, it's such a good deal for them. Like, we're not trying to be, try to make people spend a ton of money here. We just know that that's really what you want.
Yeah.
So we're going to try our best to make it happen.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about uplights for a minute because I ordered some on my own. I just got like, I'll say it, the both lighting. I think they're called IR4s. I got the one case that has like 8 lights in it. They're all battery powered.
Yeah.
And I was thinking to myself, do I want to charge people like this as an add-on? And I convinced myself, no, I'm just going to bring them and set it up and maybe charge like $100 more for the whole event,
Yeah.
And over time, they'll be paid for.
Exactly.
But it gives you that extra look all around the room, instead of just having your main lights. I don't know. And they're easy to set up.
Yes.
Like they stay synced up. You just click them on and put them in the corners everywhere and it looks good. And you can adjust them. If you're running like a DMX software, you can set them to that chill candlelight mode, like early, and then get them going crazy when the dancing happens. And I just think, I don't want to say it's expected now, but at your higher end kind of weddings, they always have some kind of uplighting going on.
Yeah, and speaking of branding, that was like the original part of the question. It's like, we know that there are going to be thousands of photos shot at this wedding.
Yeah.
And the photographer, for the most part, I mean, we have good relationships with our photographer friends now. They send us that gallery.
Yeah.
So if those lights are on the wall, it's only advertising great.
Yeah.
It's only branding.
It makes
for
everything
us.
pop.
Yeah. It just ends up looking so good. And so, like, don't be lazy, DJs. Like, just bring them, especially if you have battery powered uplights.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
We
Why
were
would you
talking
leave
about
them in the
that
van?
earlier, like in the unfortunate scenario where the venue power goes out.
Yeah.
You can click those guys on and have some lighting.
Yes.
And then maybe pull out a battery powered Ever speaker or whatever and connect your phone and play some at least background music. And people will still, it won't make people want to leave, you know,
Yeah.
like they'll hang out and be like, let's get through this. And then hopefully the power comes back on.
Rev, I kid you not. I know Rodney asked me to talk about this
Yeah.
on the podcast, and so I will now. Like, dude, 2 years ago, downtown Bentonville, it was a party, and tornado comes through Arkansas, and all the power goes out, and that place is pitch black, except I had my battery powered uplights.
Yeah.
And at that point, we were also running Maui 5 Goes for cocktail. And I was able to, the power did not come back on that venue for 3 hours.
That's crazy.
So I was able to get all of our uplights and our sticks around the dinner tables. And dude, it ended up being freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Like I even had our big EcoFlow battery.
Yeah.
And I pull it out and it was charged, and I plug my laptop in, and I plug my controller in and
Yeah.
went to work.
That's
and
awesome.
It worked. It was not the banger of a party that we wanted to throw.
Did you just
but
have one Maui 5
I
go?
had two that
two
day.
of them? Yeah.
Yeah, because we were in two different places. So I just so happened to have two.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's great. And so like for that, what we should remind people is like, just bring your stuff. Like I remember Joe Bunn talking about this, even if he doesn't sell the CO2 cannon
Yeah.
package, he'll bring the CO2 cannon just because it could go off.
Yeah.
And like, just bring it out, let
Yeah.
them have fun, and you'll have that memory, and those people will flip out and they'll give you all the business, all the reviews, all the stuff. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of our approach to the package.
Well, let me ask you about this specifically in branding. Let's talk about logos.
Yeah,
Because when you started Ozark Mix, I don't know what company you used to design the logo, but you approached them. What did you kind of want, or what was your guidelines and what you were looking for, and kind of how you dialed that look in for the logo? Because it's pretty much all over our website and social media. It's pretty recognizable.
Yeah.
So talk about that.
Yeah. So, you know, I spent some time in brand strategy before I started businesses, and that's what I went to school for. And the key thing that we learned in graphic design was that you would want a brand kit. And when you talk about a brand kit, that could mean a lot of things. Sometimes people think that branding is just the logo.
Yeah.
But branding is really, what do your customers think of you? That's what your brand is, right? And so when I thought about that, I wanted customers to think about the Ozark Mountains
Yeah.
and getting married in Northwest Arkansas when they thought about us. And I love mountain biking, and there's a brand up here. It's called the Ozark Trails.
Yep.
And their colors are out of this world. They're just so good. And so I drew my inspiration from OZK Trails, and I built the brand kit based on those colors. I modified them some. I went like fuchsia and orange, you know. You know
I can
what-
see that now.
Yeah.
Thinking of like their logo.
So
and,
yeah. And so it's very similar, and that's okay. We talk about this all the time. Like, great artists steal.
Yeah.
You know? And so I wanted that to be this like anchor. And then where we are, when we're driving out of Northwest Arkansas and you're going towards Alma down the freeway, going towards your house, actually, Winslow, there's just a scene that you can see where the mountains sort of dip down.
Yeah.
And I remember vividly when I first moved here, being there, and the sun was like popping it so perfectly that that fuchsia sky
Yep.
was happening. And I was like, dang, that would make a sick logo someday.
Yeah.
And so I remembered that, and you could see the oak trees, there, they got this emblem. And so when we first designed that logo, I had an intern working with me. I was just solo op at the time, and she had just graduated in graphic design, and this was her project for the summer.
Oh, cool.
And so I was like, hey, Ruth, like, here's what I'm trying to get this to do. And she designed it. The first one with the earphones around the circle and the oak trees in the background. Super sick. We broke all the DJ rules of like, you shouldn't have, like so many people have the headphones, but we love that. And so when I went to go like more upscale and redo the brand to be more kind of aligned once we added pics to it. And then when we were kind of thinking about all these other projects that one day we'll talk about on the podcast, but to broaden that, I kept the colors as the brand kit, and then really kind of kept conceptually the record in the middle, and the oak tree vibe on the O part that you see on Ozark Mix. And so that's kind of how that's changed a little bit. But really it was like I was trying to anchor us to the area that we serve. I just knew that I didn't want to be this global brand. I wanted us to kind of dominate here and own it here and really remain true to like who we are.
Yeah.
And so I think that's key in branding. It's like, it's got to resonate with you. I was watching, there's a guru, like just a branding dude that's just super cool. So people should just pay attention to him anyway. His name's Chris Doe, and he runs a community called The Future. And it is just super cool. And he's a brand strategist, and he was saying how he works on logos. And the last one that he worked on, he was working on this accounting firm's logo, and he was like, you guys are concerned about the bottom line. So he puts this line under the middle of their logo, and that's kind of how it went. And it just resonated with them, and they were like, that's freaking genius. And he's like,
yeah,
it's just a line, but it means a lot to people, because they just identify with it. So it ends up being super cool.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's what we did there.
For sure.
So that's all I got.
Okay. One thing I want to touch on is when you go back into pricing.
Yeah.
The first major wedding that I did up here was at Osage House. And this was when I was still like getting my sea legs, and I didn't really know what to expect. And I had my buddy Mike come. We actually set up 4 sets of speakers because that's such a big room, and got done DJing, rocked it out. And I think it was the mother of the groom came up, and she said to my face, y'all need to charge more money. I'm giving you extra money, like bump your prices up. So if you're out there rocking it, and they'll come tell you, like, people will be blunt and be like, you need to raise your prices.
Oh, yeah.
And you'll get that message and be like, okay. And then after that, I raised it up a bit. And
I think, and what that did to you is that just gave you like proof of concept.
Yeah.
It's like you just got to pay attention to that. And the minute that you start getting like a couple of reviews on Google, like you get like 5-star reviews 10 times in a row, it's time to start going up.
Yeah.
And then also, if you get to a place where everyone is saying yes to your proposals, it's probably an indication that you could move your pricing up a little bit more.
Yeah.
Now, we still get people, like our closing ratio is pretty high. But I just don't, like, I'm just not at a place where I feel like we need to get out of control in pricing, where I think we could probably adjust a little bit. And we've adjusted about 3 to 10% every year.
Yep.
But for the most part, yeah, if people are telling you need to raise your prices, you absolutely should.
And I kind of was shooting in the dark. You know, I didn't know what other people in the area were charging.
Yeah.
I kind of talked to a couple guys, and I did that kind of baseline rate. And I think kind of what brought it over the top was just how long I've been DJing and being able to mix well. They just had a good time, and they were like, "You should charge more." So
yeah, and as your skill level gets up there and your equipment starts getting up there, somebody told me one time that you should always kind of take a look at how much your equipment costs and base a percentage off of it.
yeah,
So like if you're bringing 10, 20 grand worth of equipment, you should kind of be in that $20 to $2,500 range.
Yeah.
You know, where I don't know if I don't know if I buy that, but I mean, I look at our packages and I'm like, this kind of lines up,
Yep.
you know? So yeah, pricing's weird. What one thing, Rev, that, a tip that I want to give people is too often in pricing anything in service-based business, which is what we are. We're a service-based business. We're providing a service. We have technicians that are providing that. What ends up happening is people get into this mindset of, I'm really just pricing out a deliverable that I'm giving you. And so you need a wedding reception. This is how much it costs. I would just challenge people to look at it from a perspective of like this. That couple wants an experience that only you can provide.
yep,
And instead of saying, here's your wedding reception, simply begin to say, do you want guests to have an incredible time, be able to hear, connect with their family on the dance floor, and have the time of their life? If that's the answer, this is what it costs.
yep. I like that.
You know what I mean? As opposed to, and then same thing. Like if I'm shelling out there that, hey, you probably want to add a photo booth because here's the reason. This is the way I would say that. Probably want to add a photo booth because here's the reason why. Is what I've heard in this conversation is that you really want your guests to connect with each other. And what we've found is that the photo booth is perfect for that because inevitably these people haven't seen each other in a long time. Aunt Sally's like, come on over, everybody. We want a photo. Let's do it. And it gives people a chance to get off the dance floor, take a breath, all the things. You get all the memories. And if you want connection, that's what does it. And so instead of being like, it's $3.95 to add a photo booth, would you like one?
Yeah,
Instead, just talk about the value that you're delivering.
Yeah.
You know? Like that's,
I think
Sales
experience is the key word. That's what you want to kind of develop in their mind because, you know, every bride has this mental image of like how she wants her wedding to be. And you need to find out kind of what that is and ask questions, you know, so that you meet their expectations. But yeah, like things like photo booths, anything that captures those moments and lets them relive stuff, I think is super key.
Oh, you're so right, dude. And you've said this multiple times. I've heard it. It's just like the music that we're playing, it connects people to the past. It brings people together. And that's what people have to talk about.
Yep.
It's really sales psychology. And it doesn't matter what you're selling. If you're a photographer listening to this, it doesn't matter. Like just to paint pictures for people of the experience that's being provided is everything.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like that's like a Gen Z millennial thing. Like I don't know, as a Gen Xer myself, that I really care as much about experiences. But as I'm going through life and being able to have some of the experiences that I have had, I really do. Like, I mean, this is a perfect example. It's like we took our kids last year on a spring break trip, which I never did as a kid. I mean, this wasn't something that we did, but we had a great plan. We saved our money and we went to Universal Studios in Florida. And we went ahead and went all in and got the hotel right next to the park.
Oh, nice.
Because you got passes that were early, you got some food passes. Again, we like paid for it every month until the time that we got there. And it was way more than I wanted to pay.
Yeah.
But bro, the experience that we got, like to be able to just walk to the park in less than 3 minutes, be in line, not fight with lines, get on the kids had the time of their life.
Yeah.
And I'll never do Disney or Universal a different way.
Yeah.
Right? So like Universal could call me tomorrow and be like, Mr. Collins, we have this extra experience. And I'd be like, sold. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that's what I was looking to do.
Yeah.
And so as DJs, as you have to sell your services, as people that are in service industries, the experience is everything. And painting the picture of what the outcome is by far the best way to sell it.
Yep.
So,
and I think a big part of that is your own personality and building the experience of what people are going to get just through you personally, you know, and that starts from the first email, phone call, whatever it is. The whole ride is the experience. And like we say all the time, you want it to be as stress-free as possible.
100%.
And then when you get to that big wedding day or the event, just pretty much blow people's minds, because I think now everyone's kind of used to mediocre. You know, you get mediocre all the time. And to go out of the way to just key little details, you know, finding out what the bride's mom's favorite song is, or they're from Kentucky, so you drop some Kentucky like anthem.
Yes.
Stuff like that just adds a little cherry on top, and
it's so monumental. And you just don't understand like those small little nuances, what they do. Like this Christmas, I remember we did an event in December, and these people were from Kansas State. Like they all went to Kansas State. And I dropped the Kansas State fight song. Yeah. And they lost their mind. Yeah. Like they were so K-State. And they had like some different things planned. And I'd worked up this kind of fun thing, and it was just dope. Like that kind of stuff. And people remember that. In fact, they wrote that in their review. They were Russ did this. It was crazy.
That's cool.
You know? And those are just little things that it's like you just like when you care like of what you're doing, like it all makes sense and your business is so much more successful.
Yep.
If you're just there to provide a service, I mean, just like.
And I think a lot of DJs, you know, kind of get bogged down in just the repetitiveness of it. And you kind of got to self-reflect and pull yourself up out of that and just be excited. You know, like there's tons of people that wish they did this for a job and made kind of like the decent money that DJs make. Dude. And you work like 1 or 2 days a week. So enjoy it and give these people a great experience.
That's right. A great experience. It's like, do you want to be at this event? Yeah. Because if you don't want to be here, nobody else does either. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so it's like, I'm kind of a little bougie, Rev. Like I just like,
you should be.
If I'm going to go to this event, I'm going to want to go. Yeah. You know? And so now it's like, I want all of our stuff there. I want our photo booths there. I want the experience to be awesome. I don't want to go and it fall flat. So
well, awesome. I think we covered a lot of stuff today.
Let's do it.
Anything else on your mind?
Yeah, no, I think, there's a couple of things people have asked for. We've got an MC guide and a script guide in the description. If people are looking to like step their MC game up, then I'm giving all the things away, just our scripts that we use with our team. And then we've had people ask about what kind of gear we use on the day of these events. And we made up a gear guide. There's like a good, better, best.
Oh, nice.
And that's in the description too. So I would love for people to just start picking those up, and just built them for free for people. And so they can grab them in the descriptions. And then again, y'all keep going with the podcast. We're having fun with it.
Yeah.
Later, YouTube.
See y'all.
See ya.